The notification chimed on my phone at 2:47 a.m., jolting me from restless sleep. Another Instagram tag from someone I didn't recognize. These had been happening more frequently lately, strangers mentioning me in posts I couldn't understand, comments that seemed to reference things I'd never shared online. I rolled over, careful not to wake David, and squinted at the screen. The username was at VanessaLux23, and she'd tagged me in what appeared to be a bedroom photo. My bedroom photo. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. My blood turned to ice water, the image showed. Our master bedroom in explicit detail, our custom Italian marble nightstands, the one-of-a-kind Persian rug David had surprised me with for our anniversary, even the distinctive abstract painting we'd commissioned from that gallery in SoHo. But what made my stomach lurch wasn't just seeing our private space displayed like a magazine spread. It was seeing another woman's lingerie scattered across my Egyptian cotton sheets, red lace that definitely wasn't mine draped over the chair where I kept my reading materials. Heels I'd never seen before kicked carelessly beside our bed. The caption made my hands shake. When he says his wife doesn't understand him, #mark #married mansecret #luxury lifestyle #living my best life. 23 comments already, each one driving the knife deeper. Girl, you're living the dream. That bedroom. Is Goal's smiling face with hard eyes, is that Hermes on the nightstand? This man is invested money bag, the wife probably has no idea, lol basic bitches never do. I screenshotted everything before my trembling fingers could accidentally refresh and lose the evidence. The metadata showed the post was uploaded at 11:43 p.m., just 3 hours after David had texted me saying he was working late at the office again. The same office that apparently now included our bedroom. My 15-year marriage wasn't just crumbling. It was being broadcast to strangers for entertainment. I slipped out of bed, padding silently to our home office down the hall. The house David and I had designed together, filled with memories and shared dreams, suddenly felt foreign. Every corner could be hiding another betrayal, another violation of our supposed sanctuary. The office was my domain. I ran a boutique digital marketing consultancy from here, specializing in crisis management for high-profile clients. Ironic, considering I was about to become my own client. I fired up my computer, muscle memory guiding me through the process I'd perfected for desperate CEOs and scandal-ridden celebrities. First, comprehensive documentation. I created a secure folder and began methodically screenshotting Vanessa's entire Instagram profile. The woman was shameless, dozens of photos showcasing designer handbags, expensive jewelry, luxury vacations, all tagged with locations I knew David frequented for business trips. The Ritz-Carlton in Miami, where he'd gone for a client conference last month. Vanessa had posted from the pool deck the same day, wearing a bikini that cost more than most people's rent, the exclusive restaurant in San Francisco where he'd taken that important prospect dinner. There was Vanessa at a corner table, the same distinctive light fixtures clearly visible in the background, Napa Valley, where he'd gone for a company retreat. Vanessa touring wineries in outfits that suggested the only business being conducted involved horizontal negotiations. Each image was timestamped, geotagged, a digital breadcrumb trail of my husband's double life. But what struck me most wasn't the betrayal, though that cut deep enough. It was the carelessness. The absolute arrogance of posting our private space online, tagging me like I was some kind of joke to be included in their sordid theater. I'd spent years building my reputation on discretion, on understanding that in the digital age, privacy was the ultimate luxury. And this woman had violated the most private space in my life for Instagram likes. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. That's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In the background of several photos, barely visible behind Vanessa's posed figures, were items that shouldn't have been there. My prescription medication on the nightstand. The leather journal where I kept notes about my clients, highly confidential information worth millions if it fell into the wrong hands. Most disturbing of all, my laptop bag, partially open, revealing the corner of my secondary computer where I stored client files under attorney-client privilege. This wasn't just adultery. This was a security breach. I pulled up my client roster, mind racing through the implications. Senator Patricia Williams, whose campaign finance irregularities I'd helped navigate. Tech mogul Bradley Chen, whose product liability crisis I'd managed to keep out of federal court. Investment banker Rebecca Torres, whose insider trading allegations had disappeared after my strategic intervention. If any of those files had been compromised, photographed, shared, the legal ramifications would be catastrophic. Not just for my clients, but for me. Attorney-client privilege doesn't protect you when your bedroom becomes a public photo studio. My phone buzzed. Another notification from Instagram. Vanessa had posted again, this time it was a video, a casual tour of our bedroom while David showered in the background. Her voice, breathy and performative, narrated like she was hosting some twisted episode of MTV Cribs. So this is where magic happens, besties, she giggled, panning across our space. Check out this gorgeous view. The camera lingered on our window, clearly showing the distinctive skyline view that would pinpoint our exact address to anyone familiar with the city. And don't even get me started on his wife's skincare collection. Girl has expensive taste. The camera zoomed in on my vanity, where she'd clearly been sampling my La Mer moisturizer and Tom Ford lipsticks. Worse, it caught the edge of my wall safe, partially hidden behind my jewelry box. The safe where I kept backup drives of the most sensitive client information. In the background, David's voice carried from the shower, muffled but audible. Did you lock the front door? The security system is motion activated after midnight. Our security protocols. Our alarm codes. The layout of our house. Everything was being broadcast to her followers like a how-to guide for home invasion. I grabbed my secure phone, the one I used for my most sensitive client communications, and started making calls. At 3:30 a.m., I was fortunate that my cybersecurity consultant, Marcus, was a notorious insomniac. Elena? What's the emergency? His voice was alert despite the hour. I need a complete digital audit, and I need it yesterday, I said, forwarding him screenshots. Every device in my house, every network, every connected system. Someone has been in my home office, and I need to know what they accessed. Marcus whistled low as the images came through. This is comprehensive. Your husband? My husband's incredibly stupid mistress, I corrected. Who apparently thinks Instagram is her personal reality show. The metadata on these photos? Elena, she's been documenting this for months. Different dates, different times of day. This isn't a one-time thing. My chest tightened. How long? Based on what you've sent me? At least 6 months. Maybe longer. Marcus paused, and I could hear him typing rapidly. There's something else. These photos show your computer equipment, your document storage, even partial views of your client files. If this woman has had unsupervised access to your office, I know. My voice was steadier than I felt. That's why I'm calling you at 3 a.m. I'll be there in an hour. Don't touch anything, don't log into any accounts, don't even turn on the coffee maker until I've swept everything. Marcus's tone had shifted to the focused urgency I'd heard him use with Fortune 500 CEOs facing data breaches. Elena, if your client files have been compromised, we're looking at federal crimes. Multiple felonies. After hanging up, I sat in the dark office, watching the cursor blink on my screen. 15 years of marriage, 7 years building my consultancy, a lifetime of careful reputation management, all potentially destroyed by a woman who thought adultery was content creation, but as the initial shock faded, something else took its place. The same cold calculation that had made me one of the most sought-after crisis managers in the country. I'd spent years teaching powerful people how to turn disasters into opportunities, how to flip narratives and control outcomes. Vanessa had made a crucial error. She'd brought digital warfare to someone who fought battles in boardrooms and courtrooms for a living. She'd exposed herself, her methods, her timeline, and most importantly, her weaknesses, all for the sake of social media validation. I pulled up my contact list, scrolling to names I rarely called but kept for emergencies. Former federal prosecutors who now worked private practice. Cybersecurity experts with government clearances. Digital forensic specialists who could trace data breaches back to their source. If Vanessa wanted to play games with my life, she was about to learn the difference between Instagram drama and federal prison. My phone buzzed again. David stirring in the bedroom, probably wondering where I'd gone. I watched through the doorway as he checked his phone, saw him smile at something. On the screen. Probably a message from his digital exhibitionist girlfriend, congratulating themselves on their latest performance. Let them celebrate. Let them think they were clever, that they'd outsmarted the boring wife who stayed home while they lived their authentic lives in 5-star hotels and designer bedrooms. They had no idea that their digital breadcrumbs were leading straight to a federal investigation. They'd been so careful about hiding their affair from me, but so careless about hiding it from the internet. And the internet, as I'd taught countless clients over the years, never forgets. Marcus arrived. Exactly 1 hour later, along with 2 other technicians whose names I didn't ask for and credentials I didn't question. They moved through my house like a SWAT team, scanning devices, checking for spyware, documenting every potential security breach. Your personal laptop has been accessed multiple times, Marcus reported, his face grim. Someone with physical access installed monitoring software. They've been watching your keystrokes, capturing your passwords, potentially downloading your files. How much? Everything. Client communications, financial records, legal documents. If it was on this machine, they have it. He paused, checking his tablet. But here's what's interesting, the software is sophisticated, military grade. This isn't something your average Instagram influencer would know how to install. What are you saying? I'm saying your husband's girlfriend has help. Professional help. This level of surveillance suggests either she's working with someone who has serious technical skills, or someone is working through her to get to your clients. The implications hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about adultery or even identity theft. This was corporate espionage, potentially international in scope. My client list read like a who's who of American political and financial power. Foreign governments would pay millions for the kind of information that had been sitting on my laptop. There's more, Marcus continued, showing me his screen. The IP addresses accessing your files don't just trace back to your local network. Someone's been downloading your data from servers in 3 different countries: Romania, North Korea, and a proxy server that could be anywhere. My hands were shaking as I reached for my phone. This was beyond crisis management. This was a matter of national security. Who do you call for something like this? I asked Marcus. FBI. Cybercrimes Division, he said without hesitation. Agent Sarah Chen is the best in the business. But Elena? He looked up from his equipment. Once you make this call, there's no going back. Your marriage, your privacy, your life as you know it, it all becomes part of a federal investigation. I thought about David sleeping peacefully in our bed, probably dreaming about his next romantic getaway with his digital darling. I thought about Vanessa, curled up in whatever luxury apartment my husband was undoubtedly paying for, planning her next Instagram post about their glamorous secret life. Most of all, I thought about my clients, powerful people who had trusted me with their most sensitive information, who were now potentially exposed because I'd failed to secure my own home. Make the call, I said. As Marcus dialed, I walked to the window overlooking our neighborhood. In a few hours, the sun would rise on what looked like a perfect suburban morning. David would wake up, kiss me goodbye, and head off to work, probably planning to meet Vanessa for lunch at some expensive restaurant where she'd photograph their dessert for her stories. But by then, federal agents would be downloading terabytes of data from servers around the world. Digital forensics experts would be tracing financial transactions and communication patterns. Cybersecurity specialists would be building a case that would make Vanessa's Instagram drama look like a children's game. She wanted to be an influencer? She was about to influence a federal investigation that would change all our lives forever. The FBI would knock on her door in the morning. But tonight, the real investigation began. Agent Sarah Chen arrived at 6:15 a.m. with a team that transformed my quiet suburban home into a federal crime scene. Unlike the dramatic raids I'd seen in movies, this was methodical, almost surgical in its precision. Agents and Navy windbreakers moved through my house with the efficiency of people who'd done this hundreds of times before. Mrs. Rodriguez, Agent Chen extended her hand, her grip firm and eyes alert despite the early hour. I understand you've discovered some concerning activity involving your personal devices and sensitive client information. I led her to my office where Marcus had set up a comprehensive display of the security breaches. The evidence covered 3 monitors, timeline analyses, network intrusion reports, and screenshots of Vanessa's Instagram posts that had started this avalanche. Agent Chen studied the screens in silence for several minutes, her expression growing more serious with each image. How long has your husband been having this affair? I discovered it 6 hours ago, I replied. But based on the digital evidence, it's been ongoing for at least 6 months. And you had no suspicions before last night? The question stung, but I understood its necessity. David travels frequently for work. I trusted him. I paused, then added with the honesty that crisis management had taught me was always the best policy. I was also completely absorbed in my own work. My clients require absolute attention, and I gave it to them. Agent Chen nodded, making notes on her tablet. Tell me about your client base. Marcus mentioned several high-profile names. I handed her a printed list I'd prepared, knowing this moment would come. Senator Patricia Williams, currently chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Bradley Chen, CEO of Nexus Technologies, they hold defense contracts worth $8 billion. Rebecca Torres, managing director at Goldman Sachs, handles sovereign wealth fund investments. Dr. Michael Hassan, former NSA cryptographer, now CEO of Sentinel Security. Agent Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. And all of these individuals have shared sensitive information with you? Attorney-client privilege extends to crisis management consultants in certain circumstances, I explained. I've signed NDAs worth more than most people's houses. The information in my files could impact national security, international markets, and ongoing federal investigations. Mrs. Rodriguez, Agent Chen's tone shifted to complete gravity. If this information has been compromised, we're looking at potential charges of espionage, cybercrime, and conspiracy. This goes far beyond a domestic affair. Through my window, I could see David's car pulling into the driveway. My husband, home from his evening of deception, completely unaware that federal agents were cataloging evidence of what might be the largest data breach in recent political history. He's home, I said quietly. Agent Chen looked up from her notes. I need you to act completely normal. Can you do that? Normal. The word felt foreign. Nothing about discovering your marriage was a lie while federal agents documented the collapse of your professional life felt normal. But I'd spent years teaching others to maintain composure under impossible pressure. Yes, I said. Good. I want you to continue your regular routine. Don't mention the investigation, don't ask about his whereabouts, don't do anything that might alert him or his girlfriend that we're involved. Agent Chen handed me a secure phone. This connects directly to me. If anything feels off, if he asks unusual questions, if you notice anything different about his behavior, you call immediately. David's key turned in the front door as Agent Chen and her team slipped out through the back. Marcus gathered his equipment with practiced efficiency, leaving no trace of the night's revelations except for the secure drives now in federal custody. Elena? David's voice carried up the stairs. You're up early. I walked downstairs, every step feeling choreographed. David stood in our kitchen, still in yesterday's clothes, looking tired but satisfied. The same man I'd shared coffee with for 15 years, planned vacations with, built dreams with. Now looking at him felt like staring at a stranger wearing my husband's face. Couldn't sleep, I said, reaching for the coffee maker. How was your evening? You got home late. Peterson's proposal ran longer than expected, he said easily, loosening his tie. The same tie Vanessa had photographed herself nodding in one of her Instagram stories. You know how these client dinners go. I'd heard this lie so many times. It was practically rehearsed. Peterson was David's go-to fictional colleague, the convenient excuse for every late night that was actually spent in hotel rooms with his digital exhibitionist girlfriend. Of course, I replied, measuring coffee grounds with steady hands. Any progress on the account? David launched into an elaborate fiction about Peterson's client requirements, market challenges, and strategic solutions. He'd always been a good storyteller, I realized. I'd just never understood that our entire marriage was one of his stories. He spoke, I noticed details I'd missed before. The faint scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging to his shirt. A slight scratch on his neck that definitely hadn't been there yesterday. Most tellingly, the way he kept checking his phone, smiling slightly at messages he thought I couldn't see. I'm going to shower, he announced, heading upstairs. Big day today. The moment I heard the bathroom door close, I pulled out the secure phone Agent Chen had given me. A text was already waiting, team positioned outside target's apartment. Surveillance active. Maintain normal routine. Vanessa's apartment. The FBI was already watching her, probably photographing everyone who came and went, documenting the same activities she'd been broadcasting on social media for months. The irony was perfect, the woman who'd exposed our bedroom to strangers was now having her own privacy invaded by federal agents. My regular phone buzzed with notifications. 3 missed calls from my assistant, Rebecca, and urgent messages from clients. Crisis management doesn't pause for personal crises, especially when those personal crises might become professional disasters. The first call was from Senator Williams' chief of staff. Elena, we need to discuss the Richmond situation. His voice was tense. There are rumors about a data breach involving political consultants. Please tell me you haven't been compromised. The Richmond situation, classified information about a Senate investigation into foreign election interference. Information that was sitting in files on my laptop while Vanessa photographed lingerie on my bed. I'm conducting a comprehensive security audit, I said carefully. I'll have a full report for the senator this afternoon. Elena, this isn't about campaign strategy or media management. If classified information has been compromised, there are protocols. Federal protocols. I closed my eyes, understanding the subtext. Senator Williams wasn't just my client, she was chair of the Intelligence Committee. She had security clearances that required immediate notification of any potential breaches. Which meant she'd be calling the FBI herself within hours, if she hadn't already. I understand completely, I replied. The situation is being handled with appropriate federal oversight. A pause. I see. Then you'll understand why our retainer agreement includes immediate termination clauses for security violations. The line went dead. My first client casualty, and the day had barely started. The second call was from Bradley Chen's legal team, asking pointed questions about digital security protocols. The third was from Rebecca Torres' assistant, requesting copies of all communications for their internal audit. Each call followed the same pattern, polite concern masking panic about potential exposure. Word was spreading through the tight network of political and financial elites. Someone had been compromised, and they were all checking their own vulnerabilities. My reputation, built over 7 years of discreet crisis management, was evaporating with each phone call. David emerged from the shower, humming. Actually humming. Like a man without a care in the world. He dressed carefully, choosing his most expensive suit, the one I'd bought him for our anniversary. The one he'd probably been wearing to impress Vanessa at whatever luxury establishment they'd chosen for their romantic evenings. You seem happy, I observed, watching him knot his tie. Peterson thinks we're close to closing the deal, he said, checking his reflection. This could be the biggest commission of my career. Another lie. David worked in commercial real estate, specializing in office buildings and retail spaces. Solid, respectable work that paid well but hardly generated the kind of money needed for Vanessa's designer lifestyle. Which raised the obvious question, where was the money coming from? My phone rang. Agent Chen. Mrs. Rodriguez, we need to discuss your husband's financial activities. Can you meet me at the federal building at 10 a.m.? I glanced at David, who was absorbed in his phone, probably texting Vanessa about their plans for the day. Yes, that works. Bring all financial documents. Bank statements, investment accounts, credit cards, anything that shows money movement over the past year. After David left for work, or whatever he was calling his activities these days, I spent 2 hours gathering financial records. What I found made my stomach turn. Credit cards I didn't recognize, opened in both our names. Cash withdrawals from our joint account that totaled nearly $40,000 over 6 months. Wire transfers to offshore accounts with names I'd never heard of. David hadn't just been funding Vanessa's lifestyle, he'd been systematically draining our finances to do it, but worse than the theft was the pattern. The money movements corresponded exactly with my most sensitive client meetings. Large withdrawals the day before I met with Senator Williams about classified briefings. Wire transfers within hours of my conversations with Bradley Chen about defense contracts. Cash advances timed precisely with Rebecca Torres' insider trading crisis. David wasn't just cheating on me. He was selling my client's information. The federal building was imposing, all glass and steel reaching toward gray morning clouds. Agent Chen met me in the lobby, her expression grim as she reviewed the financial documents I'd brought. "This confirms what we suspected," she said, leading me through security checkpoints. "Your husband has been monetizing access to classified information through his relationship with you." We rode the elevator to the 15th floor in silence. The FBI's cybercrime division occupied a floor that looked like a high-tech war room, dozens of agents at computer workstations, multiple screens displaying network diagrams and digital evidence, the quiet hum of serious federal work. Agent Chen led me to a conference room where 3 other agents waited. The introductions were formal: Agent Martinez from Financial Crimes, Agent Thompson from Counterintelligence, and Agent Kim from the Cybersecurity Task Force. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Agent Thompson began, "we need you to understand the scope of what we're investigating. This isn't just about personal betrayal or even financial fraud. Based on the information you've provided, we believe your husband and his associate have been conducting espionage operations against the United States government." The words hit like physical blows. Espionage. My husband, the man who forgot to take out the garbage, who cried during romantic movies, who'd held my hand through my mother's funeral, was a spy. Agent Martinez spread financial documents across the table. "The money trail is complex but traceable. Offshore accounts, shell companies, cryptocurrency transactions, all designed to hide the source and destination of payments. But we've identified at least 12 wire transfers totaling over $2 million. $2 million? I stared at the numbers. David makes maybe $80,000 a year in real estate. Which is why he needed another income source, Agent Kim added. We believe he's been photographing and copying your client files, then selling that information to foreign intelligence services. Agent Chen placed an iPad on the table, showing Vanessa's Instagram profile. His girlfriend's social media activity isn't just vanity, it's operational security. By documenting their relationship so thoroughly, she's providing proof of ongoing access to your home and office. It's evidence of successful penetration of your client network. I studied the images with new eyes. Vanessa posing with designer handbags wasn't just materialism, it was showing her handlers that the operation was well funded. Her photos from expensive restaurants weren't just lifestyle content, they were proving that David could maintain the appearance of success while selling state secrets. The sophistication of the surveillance software on your devices, Agent Thompson continued, suggests this operation has been running for much longer than 6 months. We think David has been compromised for at least 2 years, possibly longer. 2 years. I thought about all the clients I'd taken on during that time, all the sensitive information I'd handled, all the crises I'd managed while my husband systematically betrayed everything I'd worked for. What happens now? I asked. Now we build a case, Agent Chen said. We need you to continue acting normally while we gather evidence. Can you do that? I thought about David humming in the shower this morning, planning his day of treachery with the casual confidence of someone who believed he'd outsmarted everyone around him. I thought about Vanessa, probably choosing her outfit for whatever luxury lunch David was paying for with blood money. Yes, I said. I can do that. But as I left the federal building, I knew that normal was a performance I'd be giving for an audience of federal agents and foreign spies. My marriage was evidence in an espionage case. My home was a crime scene. My husband was an enemy of the state, and somewhere in a luxury apartment, Vanessa was probably planning her next Instagram post, completely unaware that FBI surveillance teams were photographing her every move. Living under federal surveillance while pretending my marriage was intact required acting skills I never knew I possessed. Every conversation with David became a performance, every gesture calculated to maintain the illusion of normalcy while FBI agents monitored our every interaction. 3 days into the investigation, I was becoming fluent in the language of deception that David had perfected over months. The secure phone Agent Chen had given me buzzed constantly with updates, creating a parallel reality where my husband was the target of a counter-espionage operation while he sat across from me at breakfast, complaining about traffic. Peterson wants to meet at the Meridian Hotel tonight, David announced, scrolling through his phone. Big presentation for the Singapore clients. Singapore. My blood chilled as I recognized the location from my files. Senator Williams had briefed me just last week about a classified trade negotiation with Singapore involving technology transfers. Information that was supposed to be compartmentalized at the highest levels of government. Sounds important, I replied, refilling his coffee cup while my mind raced. The Meridian was where Vanessa had posted Instagram stories from their romantic dinner last month. David wasn't meeting Peterson, he was delivering classified information to foreign handlers. After David left for work, I called the secure line. Agent Chen answered on the first ring. He's meeting them tonight, I said without preamble. The Meridian Hotel. He mentioned Singapore clients. We know. We've been monitoring his communications. Agent Chen's voice was tense. Elena, we need to discuss something. Vanessa posted another video this morning. My laptop chimed with an encrypted email containing screenshots. Vanessa's latest Instagram story showed her getting ready for date night, but the background revealed something that made my hands shake. My home office was clearly visible, and on my desk were documents I'd been reviewing for Senator Williams, classified briefings marked with security clearances that could send someone to federal prison just for possessing them. She filmed this. In my house, I whispered. While I was asleep. David gave her access. The timing suggests he brought her over after you went to bed, let her into your office, and she documented everything while he copied files. Agent Chen paused. Elena, this video has been viewed by over 50,000 people. Foreign intelligence services monitor social media for exactly this kind of operational intelligence. I stared at the screenshots, watching a stranger tour my most private spaces like she owned them. Vanessa ran her manicured fingers over my desk, picked up family photos, even sat in my chair while she applied lip gloss. The casual violation was breathtaking. There's more, Agent Chen continued. We've identified 3 individuals who liked and commented on this video within minutes of posting. All 3 have connections to foreign intelligence services. Romanian External Intelligence Service, Chinese Ministry of State Security, and someone we believe works for Russian SVR. The implications crashed over me like a tsunami. My office wasn't just being burglarized, it was being showcased to enemy intelligence services. Vanessa's Instagram wasn't social media, it was operational broadcasting to hostile foreign governments. What do we do now? Tonight, David and Vanessa will meet their handlers at the Meridian. We'll be watching, documenting, recording everything. But Elena. Agent Chen's voice softened slightly. This is your last chance to back out. Once we move forward with tonight's operation, your marriage is over. David will be arrested for espionage. Your life as you know it ends. I thought about the woman who had built a crisis management consultancy from nothing, who had earned the trust of senators and CEOs, who had believed in the sanctity of attorney-client privilege and the importance of discreet professional relationships. That woman was already gone, destroyed the moment Vanessa posted our bedroom on Instagram. I understand, I said. There's something else. We need you to plant surveillance equipment in David's car and his briefcase. Can you do that without arousing suspicion? Agent Chen walked me through the process over the phone. Microcameras disguised as coins, audio devices that looked like pen clips, GPS trackers smaller than breath mints. The equipment arrived by courier within an hour, hidden inside what appeared to be a jewelry delivery. Installing the devices required waiting for the perfect moment. David always showered when he came home from work, giving me 20 minutes to access his car and briefcase. My hands shook as I placed the fake coin under his driver's seat, attached the audio device to his briefcase handle, slipped the GPS tracker into his wallet. Each device felt like a nail in the coffin of our marriage, but also like a small act of justice for every client who had trusted me with their secrets. That evening, David dressed carefully for his meeting with Peterson. He chose the navy suit I'd always said looked best on him, the silk tie we'd bought together in Italy, the watch I'd given him for his last birthday. Watching him prepare for treason while wearing gifts from our life together felt surreal. Don't wait up, he said, kissing my forehead with the same tenderness he'd shown for 15 years. These Singapore clients are sticklers for detail. Could be a long night. After he left, I drove to the federal surveillance van parked 3 blocks from the Meridian Hotel. Agent Chen and her team had transformed the vehicle into a mobile command center, with screens showing multiple camera angles, audio feeds, and real-time communication intercepts. Target has arrived, Agent Martinez reported from his position in the hotel lobby. He's carrying a leather briefcase and checking his phone constantly. On the screens, I watched my husband walk through the Meridian's opulent lobby. Even in grainy surveillance footage, he looked nervous, checking over his shoulder, adjusting his tie repeatedly. This wasn't the confident man I'd married, this was someone operating beyond his depth, in over his head with dangerous people. Subject. 2 approaching from the east entrance, another agent reported. Vanessa appeared on a different camera feed, stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. She moved with the confidence of someone who believed she was untouchable, photographing herself in the hotel's mirrors as she walked. They met at the bar, David's face relaxing into a smile as Vanessa approached. Even through the surveillance equipment, their chemistry was obvious. This wasn't just an operational relationship, they genuinely cared for each other, which somehow made the betrayal worse. Audio is live, Agent Kim announced, adjusting her headphones. Through the speakers in the van, I could hear their conversation. Did you get the Williams material? Vanessa's voice was breathy, excited. Everything, David replied. Trade negotiations, defense briefings, even the classified assessment of Singapore's technology capabilities. Elena had it all spread across her desk like a buffet. Perfect. They're going to love this. Vanessa sipped her martini. The payment cleared this morning. 200,000, just like they promised. I gripped the edge of my seat. $200,000 for selling classified information about ongoing trade negotiations. David was making more money committing treason than I made managing crises for legitimate clients. Incoming, Agent Martinez's voice crackled through the radio. 3 individuals approaching from the North Corridor. 2 males, 1 female, all matching descriptions of known foreign operatives. The surveillance cameras tracked 3 people, moving purposefully through the hotel. Unlike the casual elegance of other guests, these individuals moved with military precision, their eyes constantly scanning for threats or surveillance. Romanian intelligence, Agent Chen identified the first man. Alexandru Popescu, known operative specializing in technology theft. Chinese MSS, she continued, identifying the woman. Dr. Lu Wei, typically handles recruitment and asset management. And Russian SVR, she finished, pointing to the third figure. Viktor Kozlov, senior intelligence officer with diplomatic cover. 3 hostile intelligence services, all converging on my husband and his Instagram influencer girlfriend. The scope of the operation was staggering. David and Vanessa moved to a private dining room where the 3 operatives were waiting. Through micro cameras planted throughout the hotel, we watched as David opened his briefcase and began spreading documents across the table. Classified briefings, defense assessments, trade secrets, everything I'd been entrusted with by clients who believed in my discretion. The Singapore trade deal, David explained, pointing to specific documents. Complete negotiating positions, defense technology transfers, even personal profiles of the negotiating team members. Dr. Liu examined the documents with professional interest. This intelligence is current? As of yesterday, Vanessa interjected, holding up her phone. I documented everything personally. She showed them her Instagram posts, the casual tours of my office, the inadvertent captures of classified documents. What I'd seen as violations of privacy, they saw as operational intelligence gathering. Vanessa wasn't just David's girlfriend, she was his intelligence collection partner. Excellent work, Popescu said in accented English. Our clients are very pleased with the quality of information you've provided. The payment structure will continue as previously arranged, Kozlov added. However, we need to discuss expanded access. Elena Rodriguez's client list represents the highest levels of American political and financial power. My stomach lurched as I heard my name spoken by a Russian intelligence officer. This wasn't just about the information they'd already stolen, they wanted to use David and Vanessa to systematically compromise every client I'd ever worked with. That could be challenging, David said, showing his first sign of hesitation. Elena's suspicious lately. She's been asking more questions about my travel schedule. Then perhaps it's time to consider more direct approaches, Dr. Liu suggested. Accidents happen. Widowers often need comfort and support during difficult times. Agent Chen's hand moved to her weapon. Through the surveillance feed, we watched foreign intelligence officers casually discussing my murder while my husband nodded thoughtfully. That seems extreme, Vanessa said, though her tone suggested she was considering the idea. Elena's not really a threat. She's so focused on her work that she barely notices what's happening around her. The threat assessment has changed, Kozlov replied coldly. Mrs. Rodriguez's client relationships represent billions of dollars in intelligence value. Eliminating her would give David complete access to her files and client communications. I watched my husband's face as foreign spies planned my murder. He looked uncomfortable but not shocked, like he was weighing options rather than rejecting the idea outright. We need time to consider this, David finally said. Any changes to our operational parameters need careful planning. Of course, Popescu agreed. But understand that our client's patience is not unlimited. The intelligence you've provided has been valuable, but they expect expanded access or elimination of obstacles. The meeting broke up with handshakes and casual conversation, as if they'd been discussing real estate deals rather than espionage and assassination. David and Vanessa left together, probably heading to whatever luxury suite he'd rented for their post-treason celebration. Agent Chen turned to me, her expression grave. Elena, you just heard foreign intelligence officers discuss your assassination. Your husband didn't reject the idea, he's considering it. The words washed over me like ice water. 15 years of marriage, and David was weighing the intelligence value of my murder against the inconvenience of arranging it. What happens now? I asked. Now we move to the final phase, Agent Chen replied. Tomorrow morning, we arrest everyone involved in this operation. David, Vanessa, and their foreign contacts will be charged with espionage, conspiracy, and, given tonight's conversation, conspiracy to commit murder. I nodded, feeling strangely calm. The woman who had discovered her husband's affair through Instagram posts was gone. In her place was someone who had heard foreign agents plan her assassination while her husband took notes. There's one more thing, Agent Chen added. We need you to go home tonight and act completely normal. Don't let David suspect anything has changed. Can you do that? Could I smile at the man who was considering selling my murder to foreign governments? Could I kiss goodnight the husband who was weighing assassination against operational security? Yes, I said. I can do that. After all, I'd spent the last week learning that the most dangerous people are often the ones who sleep beside you, plan their treachery over breakfast, and kiss you goodbye before selling your secrets to enemy nations. Tomorrow, David would wake up expecting another day of successful espionage. Instead, he'd find federal agents at our door, handcuffs waiting, and his Instagram influencer girlfriend facing charges that carried the death penalty. The game was almost over. I just had to survive one more night. David came home at 2:17 a.m., reeking of expensive champagne and Vanessa's perfume. I lay in our bed, pretending to sleep while he moved quietly through our bedroom, the same space that had started this entire nightmare when it appeared on Instagram 6 days ago. Through barely opened eyes, I watched him hide something in his closet, probably documents or payment records from his meeting with foreign intelligence officers. The man undressing in our bedroom wasn't the husband I'd known for 15 years. He was a stranger who had sold state secrets and casually discussed my murder over dinner. Elena, he whispered, sliding into bed beside me. Are you awake? I forced my breathing to remain steady, simulating sleep while every muscle in my body tensed. His arm draped over my waist with familiar intimacy, the same gesture that had once meant love and protection. Now it felt like a predator marking territory. My secure phone, hidden under my pillow, vibrated with a message from Agent Chen. Teams in position. Operation begins at 6 a.m. Stay strong. 4 hours. In 4 hours, federal agents would end this nightmare, and David would finally face consequences for his betrayal. But first, I had to survive until dawn next to a man who was considering having me killed. David's breathing evened out into sleep within minutes. 15 years of marriage had taught me his rhythms, and even treason hadn't changed his ability to sleep soundly after a successful day of work. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, mentally rehearsing what would happen when the FBI arrived. At 5:45 a.m., I slipped out of bed and went to the kitchen, starting coffee as if this were any normal morning. Through the window, I could see unmarked vehicles positioned throughout our neighborhood. Agent Shin had warned me that when federal arrests involved espionage charges, they moved fast and overwhelming force to prevent destruction of evidence or escape attempts. David appeared at 6:03 a.m., yawning and checking his phone. Early morning, he observed, reaching for the coffee I'd prepared. Couldn't sleep, I replied, the understatement of my lifetime. Peterson's thrilled about last night, David said, scrolling through messages. The Singapore deal is moving forward faster than expected. Another lie. Peterson was fictional, Singapore was a foreign intelligence operation, and the only deal moving forward was David's prosecution for espionage. The doorbell rang at exactly 6:15 a.m. David looked up from his phone, frowning. Who visits at 6 in the morning? Probably a delivery, I said, walking toward the front door while my heart hammered against my ribs. Through the peephole, I could see Agent Chen flanked by 6 other federal agents, all wearing tactical gear. Behind them, I glimpsed more agents positioning themselves around our property. David, I called back toward the kitchen, you should come here. He appeared behind me, coffee mug in hand, as I opened the door. David Rodriguez? Agent Chen displayed her credentials. FBI. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit espionage, conspiracy to commit murder, and violations of the Espionage Act. The coffee mug shattered on our hardwood floor, sending ceramic shards and hot coffee across the entryway. David's face went through a series of expressions: shock, confusion, denial, and finally, a cold calculation that reminded me of the previous night's surveillance footage. There's been a mistake, he said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. I'm a commercial real estate agent. I don't have access to any classified information. Turn around and place your hands behind your back, Agent Martinez ordered, producing handcuffs. Elena, David looked at me desperately. Call our lawyer. This is obviously some kind of misunderstanding. I met his eyes, letting him see that I knew everything. There's no misunderstanding, David. I know about Vanessa. I know about the foreign intelligence officers. I know about the Singapore operation. His face drained of color as the handcuffs clicked into place. How do you, Instagram, I said simply. Your girlfriend's Instagram posts led us to everything. Agent Kim was already heading upstairs with a search warrant while other agents secured the scene. Within minutes, they emerged with David's hidden documents, hard drives, and communication devices, everything he'd thought was safely concealed in our bedroom closet. Elena Rodriguez? Another agent approached with paperwork. We need you to verify these items belong to your husband and confirm they were stored in your shared residence. As I signed the evidence forms, David was loaded into a federal transport vehicle. Through the window, he stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before, pure hatred. The mask of our loving marriage had finally fallen completely away. My phone buzzed with notifications. News vans were already arriving, drawn by the spectacle of federal agents arresting someone in our quiet suburban neighborhood. Within hours, this would be a media circus. Agent Chen approached as her team finished securing evidence. Elena, we need to discuss your immediate safety. The Foreign Intelligence Services David was working with know you were the source of the leaked information. You're in significant danger. What about Vanessa? Agent Chen checked her tablet. Arrested simultaneously at her apartment. She had the audacity to live-stream her arrest on Instagram before we could stop her. 40,000 followers watched federal agents read her rights for espionage. The irony was perfect. Vanessa's compulsive need to document every moment of her life had led to her downfall, and even her arrest became social media content for her audience. What happens now? Now you disappear, Agent Chen replied. Witness protection, new identity, complete relocation. The intelligence David sold could take years to assess fully. Until we understand the complete scope of the damage, you're a target for multiple foreign intelligence services. Witness protection. I stared at our house, filled with 15 years of memories, photos, furniture we'd chosen together, books we'd read to each other. Everything I'd built, my marriage, my business, my life, was ending because my husband had decided to become a traitor and his girlfriend couldn't resist posting about it online. How long? Minimum 2 years, possibly longer. Elena, your client. List reads like a who's who of American political and financial power. The information David compromised could impact national security for the next decade. 2 agents began installing additional security systems while others swept the house. For remaining surveillance devices. My home was becoming a federal crime scene, every room photographed and catalogued as evidence in an espionage case. The secure phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Senator Williams. Saw the news. Thank you for your discretion and cooperation. Your retainer has been increased to cover legal expenses and security measures. Other clients were already reaching out, some offering support, others demanding explanations, all trying to assess their own exposure from David's betrayal. My crisis management business was simultaneously destroyed and vindicated. I'd lost everything, but I'd also proven my commitment to protecting client confidentiality even when it came at enormous personal cost. Agent Martinez approached with a tablet showing news coverage. Every major network was running the story. FBI arrests commercial real estate agent in massive espionage ring. Photos of David being led away in handcuffs, file footage of our house surrounded by federal agents, speculation about the scope of the intelligence operation. There's something else, Agent Martinez said, showing me social media monitoring feeds. Vanessa's arrest has gone viral. #espionage influencer is trending on Twitter. Millions of people are analyzing her Instagram posts, trying to identify classified documents and foreign operatives. I watched in fascination as internet users dissected Vanessa's social media history with forensic precision. Amateur analysts were identifying classified documents in her background shots, tracing foreign contacts through her comment sections, even analyzing the timestamps of her posts to correlate them with intelligence activities. The woman who had thought Instagram made her untouchable had accidentally created a public record of an espionage operation. Every photo, every video, every casual documentation of her luxury lifestyle was now evidence in a federal prosecution. Her followers are turning on her, Agent Martinez continued, scrolling through comments. They feel betrayed that she used them to legitimize an intelligence operation. Death threats, calls for prosecution, demands that Instagram ban her permanently. Vanessa had cultivated an audience of 50,000 followers who thought they were watching luxury lifestyle content. Instead, they'd been unwitting participants in a foreign intelligence operation, validating operational security for enemy agents. The betrayal was profound, not just of my marriage, but of everyone who had trusted her curated online persona. The foreign operatives? Arrested at various locations throughout the city, Agent Chen reported. Romanian intelligence officer was attempting to board a private jet when we took him. Chinese operative was caught destroying documents in her hotel room. Russian SVR officer tried to claim diplomatic immunity, but his cover story didn't hold up. I imagined the coordination required to simultaneously arrest an entire espionage network. While I'd been lying awake next to my treasonous husband, federal agents had been positioning themselves across the city, waiting for the signal to dismantle an operation that had been years in the making. David's cooperation? Agent Chen's expression darkened. He's demanding to speak with you. Claims he can explain everything, that you don't understand the full situation. What could he possibly explain? That's what we'd like to know. Elena, would you be willing to participate in an interview with David? You'd be completely protected, federal agents present, full recording for evidence purposes. I thought about the man who had sold classified information for designer handbags, who had invited foreign agents into our bedroom through his girlfriend's Instagram posts, who had sat silently while enemy intelligence officers planned my assassination. Yes, I said. I want to hear what he has to say. The federal building's interview room was sterile and cold, designed to strip away any sense of comfort or familiarity. David sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, his hands shackled to the table, looking smaller and older than the man who had kissed me goodbye yesterday morning. Elena, he began, his voice pleading. You have to understand, I never meant for this to happen. Which part? I asked. The espionage, the affair, or planning my murder? He flinched. I wasn't planning your murder. Those people, they're dangerous. I was trying to protect you by appearing to go along with their suggestions. Agent Chen sat beside me, recording everything. 2 other agents flanked David, ready to intervene if he became aggressive. Through one-way glass, I could see additional federal personnel monitoring the conversation. Tell me about Vanessa, I said. David's shoulders sagged. I met her 18 months ago at a real estate conference. She was beautiful, exciting, different from our life together. I didn't know she was working for foreign intelligence. When did you find out? 6 months ago. By then, I was already involved with her, already sharing information about your work. She told me we were helping businesses understand market conditions, that the information I provided helped international companies make better investment decisions. And you believed that? David met my eyes for the first time. I wanted to believe it. The money was incredible, more than I'd ever made in real estate. Vanessa's lifestyle, the luxury hotels, the expensive gifts. I felt like I was finally living up to your success. The admission hit harder than anger or accusations. David had betrayed our country because he felt inadequate compared to my professional achievements. His treason had been motivated by insecurity and greed, not ideology or coercion. What about the documents? You photographed classified information from my office. Vanessa said her contacts needed to understand political and economic trends. She made it sound like legitimate business intelligence. David's voice grew smaller. I convinced myself I wasn't really hurting anyone. You sold information about ongoing trade negotiations, defense contracts, intelligence operations. People could die because of what you did. I know that now, David whispered. Elena, I never meant to hurt you. Everything just spiraled out of control. Agent Chen leaned forward. David, what can you tell us about other intelligence assets? Are there other Americans working with these foreign services? David shook his head. I don't know. Vanessa kept everything compartmentalized. I only knew about my part of the operation. What about the assassination discussion last night? David's face crumpled. I was terrified. These people, they're not business people. When they started talking about eliminating obstacles, I realized how far in over my head I was. I was trying to buy time, to figure out how to get out without getting us both killed. By agreeing to have me murdered. By appearing to consider it while I figured out an escape plan. Elena, you have to believe me, I would never hurt you. I stared at the man I'd shared my life with, trying to reconcile his words with the surveillance footage of him nodding thoughtfully while foreign agents discussed my assassination. Even now, facing decades in federal prison, he was still trying to manipulate the narrative. David, I said quietly, your girlfriend posted our bedroom on Instagram. She filmed herself going through my classified documents. She documented every aspect of your espionage operation for social media content. And you're still trying to convince me this was all a misunderstanding? He had no answer for that. The evidence was overwhelming, documented in hundreds of Instagram posts, financial records, surveillance footage, and recorded conversations. David and Vanessa had created their own comprehensive case file through their compulsive need to document and monetize their treachery. Agent Chen stood up. David Rodriguez, you're being charged with conspiracy to commit espionage, violation of the Espionage Act, conspiracy to commit murder, and accessory to foreign intelligence operations. Your cooperation with this investigation will be considered. During sentencing. As David was led away, he looked back at me one final time. Elena, I really did love you. I know, I replied. That's what makes this so much worse. The interview room fell silent after he was gone. Through the one-way glass, I could see federal agents reviewing evidence, building cases that would put David and Vanessa in federal prison for the rest of their lives. Are you ready to discuss witness protection? Agent Chen asked. I nodded, understanding that the woman who had built a crisis management consultancy, who had earned the trust of senators and CEOs, who had believed in the sanctity of marriage and professional discretion, was about to disappear forever. Tomorrow, I would begin a new life with a new identity. Carrying the knowledge that my husband's girlfriend's Instagram posts had led to the dismantling of one of the largest espionage operations in recent American history, the irony would have been funny if it weren't so completely devastating. Point 3. Weeks after the arrests, I was living in a safe house in Portland under the name Sarah Mitchell, watching my former life become a case study in digital forensics. The FBI had provided me with secure access to monitor the investigation's progress, partly for my safety and partly because my insights into the intelligence community proved invaluable. The forensic analysis of Vanessa's devices is remarkable. Agent Chen explained during one of our daily briefings. She documented everything. We found over 10,000 photos and videos spanning 18 months of intelligence operations. I stared at the evidence summary on my secure laptop. Vanessa's compulsive need to photograph her lifestyle had created the most comprehensive record of an espionage operation the FBI had ever encountered. Every meeting with foreign operatives, every exchange of classified documents, every payment received, all captured in high resolution and automatically backed up to cloud storage. She was essentially running a visual intelligence database, Agent Kim added, joining us via secure video link. The metadata alone has given us insights into foreign intelligence operations spanning multiple countries and years. The scope was staggering. What had started with Vanessa posting our bedroom on Instagram had unraveled a network involving hundreds of assets, millions in payments, and classified information from across the federal government. David and Vanessa weren't just two people having an affair, they were nodes in a sophisticated international intelligence operation. Show me the timeline analysis, I requested. Agent Chen pulled up a comprehensive chart that looked like a complex subway map. Each line represented a different intelligence thread, color-coded by country and classified by security level. The connections were mind-boggling. Vanessa's Instagram posts correspond precisely with major intelligence breaches over the past 18 months, Agent Chen explained. Every time she posted from a luxury location, classified information related to that region disappeared from government databases. I studied the patterns, my crisis management experience helping me see connections the agents might miss. She wasn't just documenting the operation, she was coordinating it. Her posts were signals to different intelligence services about successful information acquisitions. Exactly, Agent Kim confirmed. A photo of designer shoes meant financial intelligence had been delivered. Luxury handbags indicated defense information. Jewelry posts signaled political intelligence. She created an entire communication system disguised as lifestyle content. The sophistication was breathtaking. While I'd been building legitimate crisis management strategies, Vanessa had been building a social media-based intelligence coordination platform. Her 50,000 followers hadn't just been watching luxury lifestyle content, they'd been unwitting participants in a communication network for foreign spies. What about the foreign operatives? Agent Chen's expression darkened. That's where it gets complicated. The Romanian agent, Popescu, is cooperating fully. He's provided intelligence about operations spanning 5 years and 3 different networks. But the Chinese operative, Dr. Lu Wei, hasn't said a word. And the Russian, Kozlov, is claiming diplomatic immunity despite evidence that his cover was fabricated. I pulled up the international news feeds on my secure browser. The espionage case had become a diplomatic crisis, with multiple countries denying involvement while quietly recalling suspected intelligence officers. The State Department was managing fallout that reached the highest levels of government. There's something else, Agent Chen continued, sliding a tablet across the table. Vanessa's been trying to contact you. The tablet showed a series of messages sent through the federal prison communication system. Vanessa had been writing to me daily, messages that ranged from apologetic to threatening to bizarre attempts at justification. Message 1, Elena, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. David told me you were separated, that your marriage was over. I thought I was helping him move on. Message 7, you don't understand what you've done. These people don't forgive betrayal. They know you cooperated with the FBI. You're not safe, no matter where they hide you. Message 14, I could have been your friend. We have so much in common, successful careers, expensive taste, appreciation for luxury. We could have worked together instead of destroying each other. Message 21, my followers are organizing. They know this is all your fault. You couldn't keep your husband happy, so you destroyed both our lives out of jealousy. The progression from apology to threat to delusion was fascinating from a psychological perspective, but terrifying from a personal safety standpoint. Even in federal custody, Vanessa was still trying to manipulate narratives and control outcomes. Are you going to respond? Agent Chen asked. No, I said, closing the tablet. But I want to know how she's getting information about my cooperation with the investigation. These messages contain details that should be classified. Agent Chen and Agent Kim exchanged glances. That's concerning. We'll investigate immediately. N. Hour later, they returned with news that chilled my blood. Vanessa's been communicating with her followers through coded Instagram posts uploaded by her legal team. She's using her imprisonment as content, turning her federal prosecution into a social media narrative. Agent Chen showed me the posts on her tablet. Vanessa's legal team had been posting on her behalf, sharing updates about her case, photos from her prison visits, even statements about her emotional state. But hidden within the seemingly innocent updates were coded messages to her network of followers and intelligence contacts. A post about missing her skincare routine was actually coordinates for a dead drop in Washington, D.C., Agent Kim explained. Photos of legal documents contained micro QR codes with encrypted messages. Even her commissary purchases were being photographed and posted, each item corresponding to specific operational instructions. The woman was running intelligence operations from federal prison using Instagram as her communication platform. The same social media addiction that had exposed the espionage network was now being used to coordinate damage control and potential retaliation. We've shut down the account and arrested her legal team, Agent Chen continued. But Elena, this means foreign intelligence services have been receiving updates about our investigation through social media posts. They know you're in protective custody, they know you're cooperating, and they know we're building cases against their other assets. My secure phone buzzed with an emergency alert. Another safe house had been compromised in Virginia. A former CIA analyst in witness protection had been found dead, killed by methods consistent with foreign intelligence elimination protocols. Pack your things, Agent Chen ordered. We're moving you again. As I gathered my few possessions, I reflected on how completely my life had been upended by Instagram posts. A social media platform designed for sharing vacation photos and restaurant meals had become the center of an international intelligence crisis. The casual documentation of luxury lifestyle had led to diplomatic incidents, federal prosecutions, and now targeted assassinations. The new safe house was in Montana, deliberately isolated from digital infrastructure and social media connectivity. For the first time in weeks, I was completely disconnected from the online world that had destroyed my marriage and endangered my life, but isolation also meant reflection, and reflection led to anger. David and Vanessa had stolen classified information, endangered national security, and casually discussed my murder. But they'd also stolen something more personal, my ability to trust, my sense of safety, my belief that the people closest to me wouldn't betray everything I'd worked for. On my third day in Montana, Agent Chen called with an update that changed everything. Elena, we've discovered something significant. Vanessa's Instagram account wasn't just documenting espionage, it was a recruitment tool. Her followers included dozens of government employees, defense contractors, and political staffers. She was identifying potential assets through social media engagement. What do you mean? She would post luxury lifestyle content, then analyze who liked and commented. Government employees who engaged with posts about expensive items were flagged as potential recruits. People struggling financially who showed interest in her luxury lifestyle were approached by David with offers of consulting work. The implications were staggering. Vanessa hadn't just been documenting one espionage operation, she'd been using Instagram to identify and recruit additional intelligence assets across the government. Her social media addiction had been weaponized into a systematic approach to compromising American national security. How many people are we talking about? Currently investigating over 200 individuals who had suspicious contact with the network. Elena, this operation was much larger than we initially understood. Your husband wasn't just selling your client information, he was helping coordinate the systematic compromise of multiple government agencies. I sat in the Montana safe house, staring out at mountains that seemed to stretch forever, processing the reality that my marriage hadn't just been destroyed by adultery, it had been a cover for one of the most extensive intelligence operations in recent American history. My phone rang. Senator Williams, calling on a secure line. Elena, I want you to know that your cooperation has been instrumental in protecting national security, she said without preamble. The intelligence damage from this operation could have compromised ongoing investigations and endangered American assets worldwide. How bad is it, Senator? Bad enough that we're conducting a complete review of security protocols across all agencies. But also manageable because you acted quickly and decisively. Your husband and his girlfriend documented their crimes so thoroughly that we were able to shut down their network before irreversible damage occurred. Senator Williams paused. There's something else. We want you to consider returning to crisis management work. The federal government needs people who understand how digital platforms can be weaponized for intelligence operations. I'm in witness protection. My identity is compromised. We can provide new credentials, complete background documentation, federal security clearances. Elena, you've demonstrated loyalty under the most extreme personal circumstances. That's exactly the kind of person we need protecting national security. After hanging up, I walked to the window and stared at the Montana landscape. Somewhere out there, David was sitting in federal prison, probably still trying to convince himself that he'd been the victim of circumstances rather than the architect of treason. Vanessa was in maximum security detention, her Instagram account finally silenced but her recruitment network still being unraveled by federal investigators, and I was in witness protection. Having lost everything but gained something unexpected, the knowledge that I'd helped prevent one of the most dangerous intelligence operations in recent history. Agent Chen had been right about one thing: once you make the call to federal authorities, your life as you know it ends. But sometimes that ending creates space for something better to begin. My secure phone buzzed with a message from Marcus, my cybersecurity consultant. New identity background complete. Sarah Mitchell has impressive credentials in digital forensics and national security consulting. Ready to start your new career when you are. I looked at the message for a long time, thinking about crisis management, digital security, and the woman I'd become through surviving the ultimate betrayal. Elena Rodriguez had been destroyed by Instagram posts and espionage operations, but Sarah Mitchell could help ensure that social media platforms never again became weapons against American national security. The mountains of Montana stretched endlessly in all directions, and for the first time in weeks, that vastness felt like possibility rather than exile. 18 months later, the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. buzzed with activity as the most significant espionage trial of the decade reached its conclusion. I sat in the gallery under my new identity as Sarah Mitchell, watching David and Vanessa face the consequences of their digital downfall. The prosecution had built an airtight case using the very evidence Vanessa had compulsively created. Every Instagram post, every tag location, every casual documentation of their luxury lifestyle had become an exhibit in a federal trial that captured international attention. The defendants created the most comprehensive record of espionage activities in FBI history, prosecutor Jennifer Walsh told the jury in her closing argument. Vanessa Torres documented classified document theft, photographed meetings with foreign operatives, and even live-streamed federal arrest procedures. The evidence isn't circumstantial, it's literally posted online for the world to see. I watched Vanessa's face as her own Instagram posts played on courtroom monitors. The woman who had once reveled in social media attention now flinched as each image became evidence of federal crimes. Her followers, who had once admired her luxury lifestyle, were now watching her receive a life sentence for espionage. David looked broken, aged decades beyond his 52 years. The confident real estate agent who had mocked my unemployment while selling state secrets to foreign governments was gone, replaced by someone who understood that his choices had destroyed everything. Mr. Rodriguez, Judge Patricia Harrison addressed David during sentencing. You betrayed your country, endangered national security, and violated the trust of the woman you promised to honor and protect. The court sentences you to 45 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. 45 years. David would be 97 if he lived to see freedom again. I felt no satisfaction in his destruction, only the hollow acknowledgement that justice had been served. Ms. Torres, Judge Harrison continued, turning to Vanessa, your use of social media to coordinate espionage activities represents a new form of digital warfare against the United States. The court sentences you to life in prison without possibility of parole, with additional charges pending for conspiracy to commit murder. Vanessa's Instagram account, which had started this entire investigation, now had over 2 million followers watching her sentencing live stream. The irony was complete. The woman who had craved social media attention was receiving more than she'd ever imagined, just not in the way she'd planned. As the court recessed, Agent Chen approached me in the hallway. How does it feel? She asked. Empty. I replied honestly. They destroyed themselves, but they destroyed me too in the process. What they destroyed was Elena Rodriguez's life, Agent Chin corrected. But Sarah Mitchell has something even more valuable, the knowledge that she prevented one of the most dangerous intelligence operations in modern history. Over the 18 months since the arrests, the investigation had revealed the staggering scope of Vanessa's Instagram-based espionage network. Her social media platform had been used to recruit 17 additional government employees, coordinate intelligence operations across 12 countries, and steal classified information worth an estimated $50 billion. The fallout had reached the highest levels of government. 3 cabinet members had resigned after discovering their staffers were compromised. The CIA had completely restructured their counterintelligence protocols. Instagram and other social media platforms had implemented new security measures to prevent intelligence coordination through seemingly innocent posts. There's something else, Agent Chin continued, handing me a folder. The Romanian operative, Popescu, provided intelligence about additional networks. We've identified similar Instagram-based operations in 6 other countries. The Department of Homeland Security wants to offer you a position heading their new Digital Intelligence Threat Assessment Division. I opened the folder, scanning the job description. It was everything I'd built my crisis management career toward: high-level strategic work protecting national security, generous compensation, and the opportunity to ensure that social media platforms never again became weapons against American interests. Full security clearance, Agent Chin added. Access to classified intelligence, direct reporting to the Secretary of Homeland Security, and a team of 50 analysts working under your direction. It was the career opportunity of a lifetime, built on the ashes of my destroyed marriage. Elena Rodriguez had lost everything to Instagram espionage. Sarah Mitchell could spend the rest of her career ensuring it never happened to anyone else. I'll take it, I said. That evening, I returned to my new apartment in Arlington, a far cry from the suburban house I'd shared with David, but infinitely more secure. The walls were lined with monitors displaying real-time social media analysis, threat assessments, and digital intelligence reports. My new life was dedicated to the same work that had made me a target, but now I was protected by federal security and armed with hard-won understanding of how digital platforms could be weaponized. My secure phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. Congratulations on the new position. I'll be working as your technical director. Ready to hunt more digital spies? The team was already coming together. Former CIA analysts, cybersecurity experts, digital forensics specialists, all united by the understanding that the next war wouldn't be fought with traditional weapons, but with social media algorithms and lifestyle influencers who doubled as intelligence operatives. I pulled up Vanessa's old Instagram profile, now maintained as evidence by the federal government. The account had been transformed into a case study, each post annotated with explanations of how innocent-seeming lifestyle content had actually been sophisticated intelligence communication. A photo of designer shoes was labeled, "Code for Successful Financial Intelligence Acquisition." A video tour of a luxury hotel room was marked, "Operational Security Documentation for Foreign Handlers." A casual selfie in our bedroom was tagged, "Evidence of Successful Penetration of Classified Document Storage." 50,000 people had followed Vanessa's account, thinking they were watching luxury lifestyle content. Instead, they'd been unwitting participants in an intelligence operation that could have compromised American national security for decades, but they'd also been the key to stopping it. Vanessa's compulsive need for social media validation had created such a comprehensive evidence trail that the FBI had been able to dismantle her entire network within weeks of discovering it. The irony was perfect. The same digital platform that had enabled the espionage operation had also ensured its complete destruction. My work phone rang. The first case for my new division, another social media influencer with suspicious foreign connections and access to sensitive government information through family members. The pattern was already repeating itself. "Sarah Mitchell," I answered, using my new identity for the first time in an official capacity. "Director Mitchell, we have a situation developing with a TikTok influencer who's been posting from classified government facilities." I smiled, reaching for my secure laptop. Elena Rodriguez had been destroyed by social media espionage, but Sarah Mitchell was going to spend her career destroying social media espionage operations. As I began analyzing the new case files, I thought about David and Vanessa in their federal prison cells, probably still trying to understand how their perfect intelligence operation had collapsed so completely. They'd been so careful about operational security, so sophisticated in their recruitment and coordination methods, so successful at accessing and selling classified information. But they'd made one fatal error: they'd trusted Instagram to keep their secrets. In the digital age, nothing stays secret forever. Every post creates metadata, every image contains location data, every video reveals operational details to trained analysts. Vanessa had thought social media made her untouchable, but it had actually made her transparent. The same platform that had enabled their crimes had ensured their capture, prosecution, and life imprisonment. My secure phone buzzed with a priority alert. Intelligence agencies in 3 allied countries had detected similar Instagram-based recruitment patterns, suggesting that Vanessa's operation hadn't been unique, it had been a prototype for a new form of digital warfare. I opened the files, beginning my analysis of what would become the next major counterintelligence operation. Somewhere in the world, other couples were probably sitting in luxury hotels, photographing classified documents for foreign intelligence services, convinced that their social media platforms made them invisible to American law enforcement. They had no idea that Sarah Mitchell was now hunting them, armed with the complete playbook of how Instagram espionage operations functioned and fell apart. David and Vanessa had taught me that the most dangerous enemies often sleep in your own bed and post their crimes online for validation. But they'd also taught me that digital narcissism creates digital evidence, and that the same platforms used for intelligence operations could be turned against those operations with devastating effectiveness. The war between intelligence services was evolving into a battle fought through lifestyle influencers and social media algorithms. But thanks to a woman who couldn't resist posting our bedroom on Instagram, America was ready for that war. I pulled up the case files for my new investigation, studying patterns of social media behavior that might indicate intelligence recruitment. The work was fascinating, crucial, and deeply personal. Every analysis I conducted was informed by the understanding that behind every suspicious Instagram post might be another Elena Rodriguez, trusting someone who was betraying everything she'd worked for. My mission was simple: ensure that no other woman would discover her husband's treason through his girlfriend's social media posts. And if they did, ensure that federal agents would be knocking on doors the next morning. After all, in the digital age, the best revenge isn't just justice, it's preventing the same crime from happening to anyone else. And I had the rest of my career to make sure that Instagram espionage operations never again threatened American national security. The notification chime on my phone had once jolted me awake to discover my life's destruction. Now it alerted me to intelligence threats that I was uniquely qualified to neutralize. Elena Rodriguez had been destroyed by social media espionage. But Sarah Mitchell was going to spend her career destroying social media espionage, one Instagram post at a time. The game was far from over, it was just moving to a bigger board, with higher stakes and better players. And thanks to David and Vanessa's compulsive documentation of their own crimes, I knew exactly how to win. The end epilogue. 3 years later, Director Sarah Mitchell's Digital Intelligence Threat Assessment Division had prevented 17 social media-based espionage operations, leading to the arrest of over 200 foreign intelligence assets. The Instagram espionage protocol became standard training for federal agents worldwide. Vanessa Torres died in federal prison after attempting to coordinate another intelligence operation through coded messages in her prison memoirs. David Rodriguez remains in federal custody, his parole requests denied annually. The suburban house where this story began was sold to a young couple who had no idea their bedroom had once been featured in the most significant espionage case of the digital age. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss any upload from us.